Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amy Giroux, and I'm reporting to you live today from my home in Gatineau, Quebec to yours, where we like to deliver what we like to call Global Vision, some great news. Over the past week, youth from coast to coast to coast have come together to develop their own youth networks and to open up the dialogue on such important challenges such as social justice, diversity and inclusion, and mental health. And today, we're bringing it live with some great news to showcase these innovative solutions. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome our first group with team leader Michael.
There, Alicia, you can go ahead.
I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Okay, awesome. And where is the present button? Present. Awesome. So my name's Alessia, and I'm from Vaughan, Ontario, and I'm a third-generation immigrant.
And I'm Eunice. I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, and I'm a first-generation immigrant.
My name's Regina. I'm from Windsor, Ontario. I was born in Toronto, raised in Hong Kong as a second-generation immigrant.
And these are the rest of our members on the screen.
Awesome.
So imagine leaving your home country, moving across the world to an unknown place, surrounded by unknown people with no idea how to navigate your life. This is how hundreds of thousands of individuals feel when immigrating or being displaced to Canada. They move with hopes for a better life and future, but are met with barriers when it comes to developing this life. We want to change this by being the handholders for immigrants and refugees that are new to Canada and trying to find their way.
Sorry, I think. We all know someone who's affected by systemic racism. We've decided to create an organization that provides resources to new immigrants so they can settle fully in Canada.
I think you're sharing.
Oh, I'm sharing the wrong
speaker,
thing, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a sec. Reset. Let me go back. Oh, yeah, there it is. Sorry.
No worries, you're doing good.
Okay, so our vision and our project overview includes to ensure inclusivity to Canada by providing resources and aid to those who are newcomers to Canada, using activism of fellow diverse Canadians to amplify voices of vulnerable populations, such as immigrants and refugees. With our project, we would like to recruit allies for a united voice against systemic racism, start a dialogue on issues amongst our communities, use our voices as constituents to elevate our stance for bills and platforms, as well as providing resources with housing, employment, education, and legal assistance.
The way that we're going to assess the benefit of our work is by doing a cost-benefit analysis. So we're going to identify all the costs and benefits for work, a cost being something like having to pay for the services of someone to come out and help our organization, and a benefit being able to help an immigrant family or person find a job. And by assigning values to all the costs and to the benefits and comparing that, we'll be able to see if we're doing meaningful change in both our communities, our country, and society.
So moving forward, we all dream of a better future, and we should mobilize using our youth and activism as a way to make meaningful change. We hope to establish a strong national network with a unified goal to end systemic racism. We want to ensure marginalized groups such as immigrants and refugees and their voices are amplified, ensuring equality and representation in public policy development. Lastly, we want to ensure proper resources to help them thrive as new Canadians, and we hope that you can help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessia. That was wonderful. And we're going to give our president and founder, Terry Clifford, will give the feedback at the end of the session. So next, I would like to welcome Miriam's team, who I believe we're delving into the challenging issues of mental health.
Maybe like I need to be other things.
Hi, Amy. Sorry, we're just getting the screen share ready for us.
No worries.
This is Sarah.
On. There's a bit of a struggle right now. Just give us a moment.
If you're having trouble screen sharing, what you can do is also send the presentation to us, and someone on our team will happy to share it for you guys.
Ooh, okay, that's a better idea. Can you guys do it? I'm having a bit of an issue here.
Yeah, can you just send it to me in the chat?
Okay.
Mom.
Jenny, can you send it?
Yeah, do you guys want to go on to someone else and then we'll come back?
Yeah, Amy, let's go on to the next group and then we can come back to Miriam's.
Absolutely. Then I invite Hajar's team to share with us.
Hajar?
Absolutely. So that would be Mia and the rest. If you guys want to
just sharing the screen right now.
Perfect. Awesome.
Awesome.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah, so Cindy, we see that. Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Okay.
They're good. That's what?
Oh, okay, cool. Can I start?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey guys, so this is Reimagine Education, a program we designed that aims to combat this like egregious lack of diversity in status quo workspaces. And so next slide.
Next slide. Next slide. Me.
Oh, sorry, yeah. As you can see, this is our team. We come from a large array of backgrounds, and we're all so excited to like share with you what we came up with today. Next slide. So what is the problem? Imagine you grew up all your life with your parents, your friends, and the community around you telling you what path you should take, what career you should go into based on the color of your skin, based on the gender that you have. This is a problem that affects millions of youth across Canada, across the world, when they're driven towards very normalized industries for their demographic, right? When women are told to go towards more feminine-based industries, the same goes for racialized minorities, stigmatized minorities, like they're driven away from things they're passionate about at a young age, right? Because you bar kids from following their passions when you destroy their passionate mindset with stereotypical norms. And I think like the programs that do exist to combat these norms are typically very long-term and typically don't actually like address like the bulk of the youth because of like elitist like application processes. Next slide. So what is our goal, and how can we help youth reimagine their future journey, and how can we address these issues early on? Next slide. So our solution is ultimately an integrative career development for marginalized youth. And this is a 2-year intensive leadership development program for grades 8 and 9 students. And what this aims to do is that it aims to actually like give them an ability to make an informed choice based on their passions and without like the prejudices that they're usually influenced by outside communities. And this would look like things like job shadowing, case-based learning, where we will teach you through like simulating world problems based on different industries, right? And this is all aimed to expose them to a large variety of industries and to expose them to a large variety of skills that they need to actually make an informed choice. This will also be one-on-one mentorship from professionals that represent a wide range of industry and upbringing backgrounds. And
so what are our benefits of developing a program early on in like a youth development? So there are three key benefits that we want to approach through this program to help establish Okay. So to help establish role models and long-term goals for youth early on in their career. So like what stands out about our program is that we're targeting grade 8 to grade 9. So that touches then that important critical development stage when the kids or when a youth is deciding on the career and deciding on like their specialization in their subjects in school, for example. That is the critical stage when we need to expose kids to and marginalized youth to different professional careers that they haven't seen before. As well, to connect.
Molly James.
Sorry. Cutting down. And as well to connect like with like-minded individuals at a young age, because with marginalized youth who have like great ambitions and great dreams, a lot of the time they get isolated in their communities. So by providing a selective and intensive program like this, we're creating a community for them early on in their career that they can benefit in the long term. Next slide. And so what is our implementation timeline? For now, we're going to start with like a slow and steady implementation timeline, in which in the first year, you're focusing on building a proof of concept. So having community partnership with schools, with existing NGOs in different regions, as well as conducting like rigorous R&D, research and development into what concepts work in terms to help grade 8 and grade 9 youth develop this interactive learning. And then in the second year, after we have built and measure the impact assessment, conducting impact assessments of our program, we wanted to extend this into like an institutional partnership. So TDSB partnership is only like one example where we want to partner with, having that institutional support, and then getting the credits, a service hours acknowledgement into the program. And so while we believe, next slide, a program like this that comes with some risks and some risk and foreseeable risks that we'd like to address in the program as well. So first of all, there's like a risk of given the current situations with COVID-19, then all online on trainings and onboarding will be required to develop like a very effective online learning, as well as there's like a risk of like poor matching between mentors, professional mentors and mentees. So that requires us to be having selective recruitments of marginalized youth, as well as professionals who are compatible to them. And then we also require with like regular evaluations to make sure that the program is beneficial for both parties. And the deep of our goal is that we want to complement existing programs out there for youth already and not competing. So we want to make sure that we have that stakeholder partnerships in the long term. Next slide. And this is like just some of our stakeholder engagement in terms of private institutions, working with like different school boards, as well as like hopefully eventually working with public school boards. And so with a scale-up program like this, what we want to hope in the end is to help marginalized youth explore different professional avenues that they have not considered before. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I can see we're already delivering some great news. I just wanted to check in and see if Miriam's team is ready to join us, or we can move forward.
Yeah, I believe David is going to try to share the screen now. David, do you want to give that a try?
Sounds good. I'm just opening it up right now. What? I don't think I'm sharing this. Oh, the other David. My apologies.
Yeah, the other David. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Is everything okay? Ooh.
Oh, I have it too if it's not working for you guys. Somebody just changed the access, so let me see if I can share my screen. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so whoever's presenting, just let me know if you want me to go to the next page or whatsoever, and I will start presenting.
All right. Jenny.
Got it. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny. My team and I are leading the Committee on Mental Health. The members of my team are Armin and Serena. They're both from Vancouver, BC. David, myself, and Sarah are from Ontario, Canada. And we would like to change stigmas on mental health through education. Switch the screen, please. Thank you, Gigi. Okay, so mental health. Internal, non-existent, shameful, a taboo. Unfortunately, these were some of the words that came up in our discussion yesterday when we were trying to find a commonality about mental health and when we were talking about the insecurities that prevented us from reaching out for mental health support. As being the most prevalent group at risk for mental health right now, and with different cultures at home making it hard for youth like us to speak up and look for help with mental health care professionals, it could be difficult. So schools and our educators can become another resource for help. Yet this can be an issue or a caveat that arises when educators are unequipped to deliver advice on mental health, or they simply cannot recognize it because of a lack of training. This can fundamentally devastate the trust in students to seek further help in the future. Therefore, our team is proposing a project that targets the provincial high schools, education system, and staff to better educate them on mental health in order for them to help us. And I'm going to hand that over to Serena. And if you could switch the slide, please, Gigi. Thank you.
Let me just unmute. Okay, so who are we? We are 5 high school university students who have had personal experiences with mental illness and mental health crises while in school, whether it was us who were personally affected or someone we care about. Having all gone through high school, we understand what the attitudes are around mental health, such as when, from who, and how students are willing to seek help. And since we've all had experience with mental illness and mental health crises, we know what it's like and we know what helps and what doesn't help. Now I'm going to hand it over to Sarah.
Right, so our project. To properly address the problems our youths face, we would like to propose the Building Bridges project. And this project focuses on eliminating the communicative barrier between the school staff and the students regarding mental health, as well as the stigma that surrounds the idea of seeking and receiving necessary healthcare in the first place. Now, the goal of Building Bridges is to create a comforting environment for students to stay healthy and prosper, to be willing to seek help when struggling, and to have access to supportive and knowledgeable figures to confide in. And the way we will carry out our project is by bringing this initiative up to provincial government officials in charge of education and asking them to implement it as a mandatory policy in all schools. And I will hand the time back to Serena.
Okay, why should we care though? Why is it urgent? Okay, we believe in the importance of immediate action because we believe in our youths. The children of today are the adults of tomorrow, and we will be the ones to shape the future of our world. And that is why we have to invest careful time, attention, and care into the problems that our students face. You know, because a nurturing and considerate upbringing can make the difference of whether or not a person will perform to their truest potential. We don't have as much time nor resources as we would like to think. The next generation of problem solvers need support to develop into the people we need. And I'm going to hand it over to David.
Right, so for our project, we plan on having people knowledgeable about mental health come in and give talks to the teachers as often as is realistic for the school's budget. Students will be encouraged to drop in too and can be given volunteer hours. Issues that may arise could be the lack of teacher engagement or participation, and to combat this, we should customize how often meetings are held depending on the abundance of mental health resources in each school district. Another issue may stem from lack of funding, and to counter this, we should allow flexibility in how often these meetings are held so that schools can afford them. Also, there are plenty of NGOs that provide free mental health care, services such as jack.org. We will assess benefit by sending out anonymous surveys to students and teachers or having yearly check-ins with individuals regarding quality of mental health support at their school or institution. And I will hand it off to Rahman.
And so what we need to do right now and to move forward is to lobby this to the provincial government and get support from politicians, teachers, and mental health professionals. We believe that if we can get this to the provincial government, they'll be able to assist us in implementing this platform to different school systems across all the provinces in Canada. We also need to work with them to improve our idea so we can continue to advocate for youth and our well-being. With the support of these individuals, we can also gain new ideas and feedback on perhaps like what is working well or what could we change with this idea and platform. After all, we are youth and we fight for youth, for our future. And I'll pass it off to anyone else who wants to add anything, I guess. Yeah, that's our whole presentation.
Well, thank you, Building Bridges, for that insightful discussion. I think we all learned earlier this week with our great chat with JTC grad Emily Levenu, how important it is to open up that dialogue. So, and it's a difficult one to talk about, especially as teenagers, and as a mother that has two of them, I totally understand. So thank you for that insightful presentation. Now I believe David's team is next.
Yes.
I will gladly share my screen.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So today we'll have me, Isabel, and Selena will start us off.
All right, hello everyone. Today we are going to present our social justice community project, which is creating a forum called the Canadian Artists of Change Forum that will be able to bring about issues in social justice. Isabel, if you'd like to continue.
Sure. All right, so with art, or any pictures rather, it speaks 1,000 words, and especially during this time, COVID, here in Vancouver, there's been a lot of art pieces, and although there aren't a lot of words, it does speak loudly. And we believe that any youth that is passionate about what they want to change in their community about any social justice issue, they can go ahead to create a poem, an art piece, and they're able to send it and share it to all of Canada.
The purpose of this is to be able to give anyone, especially youth, a platform to be able to champion change, and doing so through artistic means, so that could be shared with other people on the internet. Especially when we are all quarantined inside, it's a safe way to bring forth social issues that we feel are prominent in the community.
And so who is this geared towards? So the youth, obviously. It's basically to start a conversation about any pressing social justice issue in each of our provinces. We found that there were many things that we wanted to tackle, but why can't we just put all our eggs in one basket and just have everyone collectively talk about what they feel is important and put it on a platform for everyone to see and be better educated about it and share awareness. So it's also to bring change in the community as well as educators, so teachers, parental guardians, and even principals as well, and a way to express their individuality and creativity. Art is a great outlet for that.
We figured that the best way for this to handle, especially across a national platform, would have it be done through a website and social media. We understand that there are limitations with technology in our modern age, However, this is one of the platforms we came up with that would be the most accessible to the widest range of people that we found so far, and would be a start towards our venture.
And so why should this project be implemented? So number one, minority representation and justice, discrepancy for education, and further education on minority issues, and the opportunity to empower youth to spark change.
As for where we'd gather the money from, with any platform that we have to give, there has to be funding provided for it. And for us, we've identified 3 main groups that we could ask, including an organization called Rising Youth, the Canadian Roots Grant, and the federal government as well, which has arts councils such as the Canadian Arts Council, which we are sure, if we bring up enough of a platform, could definitely support an artistic forum.
And so this is our short-term plan. So firstly, we are all representing, or we're all from different parts of Canada. So we will reach out to our local elementary schools to participate. And it could be a collective plan to create one big art piece, or it can just be students from that particular school. There will be a collection of all the art pieces, and then it will be posted on the website. And then there will be the implementation of the social media platform, so Instagram, so that we can reach everyone.
Our long-term goals is to facilitate active participation, especially from the voices which are not heard as much or not as prominent within our community. Ultimately, with more people involved in it, we should be able to host a gala of sorts and be able to commemorate the work that other people have done. Like many other community programs or national programs, an exchange has proven to be effective amongst Canadian leaders to engage with other people as well and learn about the diverse cultures within Canada. Especially with a platform like art, it could provide an easy access format for others to pursue. As well, we could show possible scholarship prizes for youth speaking about minority voices, as they are advocates for social change with artistic platform, and tuition for further education so that we can bring these platforms forward would also be effective as well. With our long-term goals, we hope to be able to implement it within our education so that more issues could be approached.
And so we've also listed the barriers as well. So there might be a lack of funding to build the platform. And another one is there might be an inability to send a copy of their work. So there are communities in our country that do not have access to technology or even access to news or anything that is happening in like the big cities. And so that might inhibit us to reach out to the youth ultimately that are up there, or for those who are in faraway communities. And another one is, this will not work if we do not share, or how should I say this, inspire youth, because I find my sister is just entered her 2nd year of university. She is lacking the motivation or the drive to change. And I've talked to her about this awesome platform, and although we educate them on these things, it's actually ultimately one thing or one social justice issue that they can be passionate about, so much so that they can actually make a change. So unless we can find the light switch to turn on the light bulb for creativity and awareness, we are yet to find it, and that's ultimately the secret recipe. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Well, way to go, team. Thank you for taking on that innovative approach and involving the arts. Obviously, Terry's going to give you the feedback later, but I also like the fact that you mentioned about Canadian Heritage, because this is the partner for Global Vision that brought us all here. I also agree that we have to be that spark to make that change. So thank you so much for sharing. I believe next up is Isabella's team.
So for my group, we have Shreya and Raisa who are going to be presenting.
Okay, so this is an introduction to Bill 18. With the current political climate, it is more important now than ever to address and take care of our mental health. Some populations face greater challenges in achieving the resources that cater to their culture. Next slide. We are a group of high school and university students made up of myself, Shreya from Scarborough, Ontario, Selena from Mississauga, Ontario, Colton from Digby, Nova Scotia, Catherine from Tecumseh, Ontario, Isabella from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and my fellow speaker, Reza from Ottawa, Ontario. Next slide. We are keen on implementing change through Bill 18, the Minority Community Healthcare Act. Canada is a diverse country with many languages, and statistics show that language availability and help not readily available was cited to be a barrier by 19.5% of those with an unmet healthcare need. Indigenous populations are heavily affected by government policies and their history of oppression, encompassing suicide rates that are twice as high compared to non-Indigenous adults. When discussing minorities, we felt it was important to address the LGBTQ community among the different racial groups. And groups not shown on the slide include Asian Americans, Muslim populations, and Hispanic individuals, to name a few. Next slide. Our policy will be in collaboration with the Mental Health Commission of Canada by building on the objectives that were identified pertaining to mental health in the Senate Standing Committee on Social Affairs, Science, and Technology's report titled Out of the Shadows at Last.
So there are three main goals that we would like to achieve. First, increasing the number of national helplines that specifically tailor to address different races, cultures, and backgrounds, as the helplines today that exist do not necessarily provide culturally sensitive counseling and emotional support. Second, by investing in culturally sensitive counseling, we can further access to those marginalized communities to access services and not be held due to time and money. Third, but with the creation of community and online access to peer and support groups, they are able to talk furthermore about their mental health with their communities and also increase education and awareness to mental health resources. Next slide. There is a need for mental health resources and infrastructures that are tailored for minority experiences and traumas. Discrimination, ancestral traumas, and a feeling of lack of belonging are the roots of mental health problems that specifically impact many minorities. However, most mental health organizations and policies fail to recognize and support this because there is a lack of amount of culturally sensitive mental health institutions. Next slide. So we have found there are 6 barriers when we were developing our plan. First, there is a discrepancy with the number of mental health resources within different communities across Canada. Many rural communities do not have the same access as those living in large metropolitan cities. Second, there is a challenge with lack of support for getting mental health resources. Third, there is a barrier with the federal versus provincial jurisdiction. And fourth, there is also a discrepancy with the amount of money spent on mental health in different provinces. And fifth is there are still challenges about communication among provincial and federal governments about the issue of mental health and also among the provinces themselves. And lastly, some communities might not have access to infrastructures to have mental health resources in place. Next slide. So there is, moving forward, prevention before mental health problems become healthcare crisis. If we don't take action now, we can prevent these mental health problems becoming a big crisis. So by developing goals and self-care habits, which will plant positive seeds for significantly improved mental health. Having movement of funding from these preventable healthcare crises to other mental health initiatives would create a positive achievement to these marginalized communities. Don't let them suffer silently. Let's take action now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I can't agree with you more, and I think that's why we're all here, is to take action. So thank you for that thorough, innovative approach to the mental health, and I look forward to working with you on your initiative. Now I believe we have Sammy's team.
Yes, Alicia and Marcel, you can go ahead.
Oh, cute.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leisha, and I'm going to start off the
Diversity in the Workplace presentation. Our Diversity in the Workplace committee itself is diverse. We have committee members from coast to coast, immigrants, LGBT members, and different educational and industry backgrounds, which we found to be invaluable insight when it came time to discuss about diversity management strategies and their significance. Most diversity management programs in Canada maintain that enhancing workplace diversity is of tremendous significance for business organizations in today's competitive global urban markets. Since well-meaning diversity management initiatives have been largely ineffective thus far in dealing with workplace discrimination and racism in the Canadian workplace, we have underscored the need to decenter the focus of diversity management from a business imperative to an anti-discrimination and social justice imperative. It is a known fact that integrating women and minorities in the decision-making process yields significantly greater results, and yet less than 1 in 5 women are in leadership roles. Women are 30% less likely than men to be promoted out of an entry-level position and 60% less likely to move from middle management into the executive ranks. This figure is significantly lower for women of color. This also holds true for LGBT and disabled individuals. There is an incredibly evident ceiling in the Canadian workforce. And although there are policies in place to combat this issue, the implementation and enforcement are significantly insufficient, particularly regarding whistleblower protection law, which we will speak to further very shortly. And now I'd like to hand it off to Marcel to discuss our community project.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks for, go to the next slide. Thank you for attending, and thanks to everyone who has presented before us. So first, I'd like to reiterate that diversity comes in many different shapes and forms. So as you can see on the screen, we outline ability, cultural, age, gender, skills, race, economic, and neurodiversity. And diversity has been proven in the past to be very beneficial for companies, be that private or public, in terms of activity, efficiency, and just the overall workforce. So next slide, please. So the way I like to, or the way that we'd like to outline the PowerPoint was more with images than with words. So I'm going to explain how we thought our project was going to work out. So what we came up with to combat, I guess, diversity or the inequity of diversity in the workplace is that we thought of conducting multiple interviews of people that have been subject to, or minorities that have been subject to any exclusion based on their diverse background. So whether that be racial, gender-based, or any of the other topics that we mentioned above. So we'd be conducting a variety of interviews, and we'd be filming these with testimonies from people all across Canada that have been subject to this. We would then properly edit the footage, compile it, and put it into one nice documentary-like video. And then we would circulate that video through our Facebook and a page on our website to really push the initiative and gain awareness of the issue. So next slide, please. And then following that, what we came up with is we would use this video and leverage it, leverage the awareness from the documentary to push for lobbying in favor of stricter whistleblower protection. So that when there is a scenario in which someone has been subject to either racism or any exclusion based on their background, that could be brought up. And we just feel like that this would be a nice package and a way to really push the initiative forward. So thank you everyone for listening. This was our presentation, and off to the next one.
Thank you, Marcel. It's nice to meet you virtually. I know you and I have personally spoke on the telephone. I think there was a very interesting presentation, and given that my team is next, we also tackled the same topic. So I'd like to invite GB Grad, Hannah Tate, and the team to present the last presentation on diversity and inclusion in the workforce.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'll start the presentation. Our team, we're the diversity and inclusion team. So throughout this week at NYAC, we've often emphasized the LTR, so being unique, being innovative to gain this competitive advantage. Well, I found this statistic on the Harvard Business Review that says that firms that value diversity are 45% likelier to report a growth in market share due to innovation. So innovation is a direct consequence of a diverse and inclusive environment. However, how is it that only 1/5 of all leadership roles in Canadian companies are held by women, and that more than 3 out of 10 minorities report that they face prejudice in their current job? Next slide, please. Therefore, our initiative, the Mentor Culture Movement, seeks to advocate for a workplace that's representative of our country's beautiful cultural mosaic. Next slide. And how are we going to do that? We're a cross-organizational mentorship program that facilitates one-on-one connections by connecting people with similar and different backgrounds. So let's say for similar backgrounds, let's take the example of Mohammed. He's applying for his first job, and he would like to have a mentor, someone, a role model kind of to look up to seek advice from. And from there, we're going to connect Mohammed with someone from our network, someone from a similar cultural background with similar interests and with similar passions. And that goal, the ultimate goal of that would be to amplify the achievements of diversity. On the other hand, we'll also seek to connect people of different backgrounds. So let's say Mohammed and John, and we'll encourage them to start uncomfortable conversations, to encourage dialogue, and to ultimately break the stigma attached to diversity in the workplace. Next slide. So to implement a diverse and inclusive movement, we have here a very diverse team. Next slide.
First member of our team is Jasmine, who was born in Beijing and currently lives in Montreal, Quebec.
The next member of our team is Hannah. She's a 4th-generation Canadian from Regina, Saskatchewan, and she's currently studying at the University of Regina.
And I'm Reem Zahfa. I'm the 3rd member of the team. I'm a Lebanese Canadian born in Ottawa, Ontario.
And I'm Jennifer Shi. I am a Chinese Canadian, and I was born in Windsor, Ontario, and I currently live in Ottawa, Ontario.
And I'm Summer. I was born in Guangzhou, and now I go to Western, and I live in London.
And I'm Andy. I'm a Chinese Canadian, and I was born in Toronto and currently living in Markham. So how are we going to implement our project? So we're looking at promoting our movement as well as our website across a variety of channels. And this includes social media, such as Facebook groups, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc., as well as other channels such as in-person events or existing email lists. And we actually made a demo of our website to show what it might look like. So here we have the homepage, and we have a short explanation of how it actually works for the participants involved. So firstly, they would tell us about their background, their goals, and their interests. So for example, if Gigi wanted to sign up for our program, she would enter her email, and then she would be taken to a form where she can tell us about her contact information, her background, as well as her interests and passions. And she would also indicate whether she'd want to be matched with someone with a similar background or a different background. And if it's someone with a similar background, whether she would like to be a mentee or a mentor. Now, after they fill out the form, we then, as the organizers, match them with someone that fits their preferences, their goals, their interests, and their backgrounds based on how they filled out the form. And we facilitate an email introduction so that, and then afterwards they can talk and have dialogue over any platform they prefer, whether it be Facebook Messenger, Instagram, emails, Zoom calls, or even in-person meetups. And after that, they can share about their experience on our social media platforms. For example, one of our ideas is to create a social media page similar to Humans of New York, where our participants can talk about how our program has impacted them. And lastly, through our project, we hope that together we can use dialogue to build a more understanding and inclusive world for everyone. Now, how are we going to measure the extent we move the needle towards a more inclusive and diverse tomorrow? So we sort our key impact indicators into two main categories. The first one is reach and engagement, and the second one is experience. Now, reach and engagement is more about the number of people we involve in our movement. So this includes things such as social media impressions, views, comments, likes, website traffic, search rankings, number of participants, etc. Whereas the experience is more about the quality of the involvement for the participants. So this includes how frequently they communicate with each other, how they've been impacted, how suitable their match is, and how satisfied they are with it. So the resources we need to start our project includes website hosting and also contact info for the Global Vision community and alumni, because we think that this is a suitable community for us to build off of, just because of how ambitious the GV community is, as well as how the people that make up the GV community they care about making new connections, they're open-minded, and they come from all across Canada and from all walks of life.
So how competitive is the mentor culture movement? Well, our strengths, as Andy just said, is that we're thinking of starting off within the GV community by connecting alumni with youth from coast to coast to coast, and that gives us a huge platform to start with. However, one of our weaknesses is that we're still new, we don't have a reputation yet, and we don't have enough funds or platform. We're also an online-based movement, so to start off with, all of our interactions will be made online. However, when COVID ends, we're planning on making it mandatory for mentors and mentees to meet at least once face-to-face to have these memorable connections and memorable interactions. One of the opportunities is the current racial equality movement on social media, so the BLM movement, which already amplifies the voices of diversity. And finally, one of the main barriers or threat would be to motivate people who are skeptical about diversity to join the movement as mentors or mentees. And to overcome that, we'll invite community figures to get involved, and hopefully it'll have a change agent effect such that other people who would be inspired by these leaders would join the movement.
So to conclude, I just want to briefly summarize the story of Daryl Davis. So he was an American musician who engaged in conversation with members of the KKK. And over time, he was able to show white supremacists new perspectives, and ultimately led to them giving up their robes and denouncing the Klan. So prejudice exists among all sorts of backgrounds, and we hope that together we can make our community more diverse and inclusive by creating more cross-cultural dialogue.
Well, thank you, team, for sharing that. I think what's most impressive for me is how in such a short period of time, we were able to pull together, right, and collaborate and come up with these innovative solutions. For me, is some great news that we will be able to share with other Canadians from coast to coast to coast, to show how young people can take action. But like on all episodes of Some Great News, we always get feedback from the Peanut Gallery. So we have with us today our president and founder and my number one dad, Terry Clifford. Terry?
to everyone. That was almost overwhelming for me. So I can just imagine any other viewer that happens to come on to Some Great News SGN and see all that. They're going to be probably overwhelmed, but excited and very much feel good about Kitties and how youth are dedicated and committed and knowledgeable about what we need now. And this is a great time. This is everybody, every government, every business, they're all into post-COVID planning time. It's everywhere. Investors are holding back. They're wanting to put their money with the winners, who they think are going to be the winners. So it's an ideal time to come up with some really relevant, innovative proposals, because first everyone's looking for, like I said the other day, and I want to say it again, you being youth have absolutely the biggest stake in this. Why do I say that? I don't think it's really dawned on you yet why I would say that. It's because you are going to end up paying for it all. You and your children. It'll take at least 2 generations, maybe 3, to pay for what we've had to pay for in COVID. It's the largest expenditure ever for Canada. And so, but it was necessary. But it's going to fall on you. So I think it's fitting that you should be part of the solution, because you're the one that's going to pay for it. So let me just say, it's pretty hard to, all of the presentations had real highlights in them. I would like Amy to be sure that you send me all of them, please. And I will return specific comments to each of the teams, because you're worthy of it. Believe me. I think your projects are very innovative. Everyone's was, but it's going to be difficult. And I think that you have to be prepared to want to go and push a little bit harder. And I think, Amy, I think global vision could play a big role in this. I think that, because one of the projects, the art project, talked about showcasing some of the work, the artistic work on the message, and a social justice message. I thought it was a good idea. But where will they get this? This last group talked about having a website and getting people involved, employers involved with would-be employees, and seeing if some matching is possible, and some exchange and building a relationship. Yes, it is. It is possible. Your idea to tie it to global vision is even excellent, because we've got hundreds and hundreds of graduates in virtually every field you can imagine. And I can't think that they wouldn't want to help with such a well thought out proposal. So that shouldn't be too difficult to do. I mean, it's difficult in the sense that there's work got to be done, and we would have to have you people do the work and use our infrastructure to help you. Some of the other projects were aimed specifically at schools and school systems. And, you know, as a former principal, I know all about that. So I was very, anxious to hear about it in a previous role. But, a lot of it's targeted on the guidance departments in schools and or lack of a guidance department. And you were quite right that to point out that a lot of today's issues, and they were all well researched, that the impact on every school, but the people in those jobs don't necessarily know how to do those things. So how do you get them to do it? I mean, getting schools to do yet another thing might sound easy to you, but you try and do it. You try and make a change in your own school. Never mind all the schools. I saw a slide about the Toronto District School Board. Well, it is the biggest in Canada, and Peel's right behind it, if not bigger. That's an immense challenge. There's literally thousands of teachers that would be impacted, and hundreds of schools. So it's a big job. It's not impossible, but it's a big job. So I would say that you have to get more people on board. So the idea you present here to us, this very small audience, is a good one. But can you, in your case, get people involved? Like, how committed are each of the members of the committee or of the groups? Would you each reach into your own community and find people that would be involved and multiply that by the number of people that you have in your team, like six times each gets six? That's 36 people more than you have now. So I would suggest that you've got to start to think like that. I liked how the last group used the SWOT analysis. I guess they've read my book, but unfortunately, we didn't do a SWOT here with you all. But I wish I would have now. It takes a bit of time. So, what are your individual strengths? What are your individual weaknesses? What opportunities do you see? And what are the threats of you ever achieving those opportunities? That's the SWOT analysis of you as a person, as you as a team. So and you use your members well in presenting, I think all but one presentation had everybody involved. So this is good stuff, and everybody told us who was in the team, where they were from. All right. The thing that you didn't add because you didn't know is, what are the assets you bring? What are the bank of assets that each team has? You see, if you really know a person by now, then you know what they can bring to the table. You heard Adam and all of them yesterday. They talked about, what do I bring to the table? See, that's business talk. If you're going to go to a meeting, what do you bring? What assets have you got that you'll lay on the line? So I think you'll find that out right now. You'll find out if you want to move your work forward. We'd like to do it. We'd like to help you. But you better check and make sure that everybody in the team, as part of your presentation today, is going to stay committed for the long haul. Because it's going to take work. And so I guess I could sum up and say that really, I think you've come a long way. I think on Monday you didn't even know each other. Here it is Friday and you're using first names and you know where people live now, where they're from. You've seen what they've contributed together to a project. You together have put on really pretty classy presentations. They are. So I rate them all as first class. So that's not the problem. The problem is, where do you go next? So I think that what Global Vision can do, since we've started you on that, is we can help push these different directions because they have so much in common. We can help push this, but we need to know that the teams, the people, are still behind it, and will do it because Amy can't do this stuff herself, and this is where the real global vision unfolds. You have to be committed enough to want to do it. And if you are, then we'll find a place like at one of our events that we have, if we ever get traveling again, and we have the next national meeting, we will showcase and invite the media in to see what young Canadians are doing with problems that we're all facing right now. You've really identified the issues, and you've identified some innovative ways to address them. But now we have to do it, whether it's in like a pilot, we call it a pilot form, where you try it, not on 200 schools in the GTA, but maybe one or two. You see what I mean? You don't start these things nationally. You start with a small section, small area, and then blow it open. Because you'll find out what you have to overcome. So I hope you stay committed. I can see that this could be a great future for Global Vision. This is new for us, doing what we're doing right now, and we'll end up doing more of it, delivering the work of Canadian youth, not just to Canada, but around the world. So you can put an imprint. This could be Junior Team Canada. Any one of those projects could be a Junior Team Canada project that would be welcomed, not only everywhere in Canada, but wherever Global Vision wants to travel around the world, because virtually everyone, every country, has to deal with exactly what you identified here today. So I'm grateful that I got a chance to be overwhelmed by you, and urge you to stay involved. Send me the actual project I saw today. I will get back to you if you'd like. I mean, I'll spend the time. I'll analyze it further, give you my remarks, and tell you how I think we can help you go further, knowing if we know you want to do it. Okay, is that fair? I'm open to any feedback you want to give me right now.
Yeah, so I'll just jump in really quick for the logistics. I already sent an email and I'll post that on the Facebook group. I noticed most of you are using a Google presentation. So if you can just email it to the Global Vision Gmail, I will be compiling all the presentations and CC your emails to Terry, so it'll make it a little bit easier for him to see all the presentations. Yeah, great job, everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else want anything to say before we sign off?
Well, we're not signing off.
Okay.
We're going to get to the point now where we can connect those dots so we can understand where we can move forward from here. So first of all, I want to thank my number one dad. I think you can all see why he is my number one dad. Well, first of all, he's my only dad, but at 81 years young, I don't know anybody else that is that passionate about helping young Canadians get that first start. So thank you for sharing your valuable insight with us, Dad. And I agree, it's really up to all of you how we can collectively work together and move this agenda forward. Global Vision has a great platform to be able to do that. And now that's why, if everybody's okay, I just wanted to take a few moments before our 4 o'clock panel just to connect you to all the programs and opportunities that are afforded to you because you took that first start and joined us to be an ambassador at the National Youth Ambassador Caucus. So if Chris will help me here. Okay, just for all of you, we have developed our very jazzy PowerPoint presentation. So Global Vision's tagline is all about getting the experience that matters, which you have been afforded to have this week at the National Youth Ambassador Caucus. And we're not done yet, but I hope that you have all greatly enjoyed your experiences connecting with Canadians from coast to coast to coast, and also having the opportunity to network with our GV alumni and tackle these important social challenges. So I've shared with you our story, but we can just go to that slide. Thank you. Okay, as you know, we talked about, this program was started, it'll be 30 years next year in 1991. And it began with a vision. And you might be asking, why is there a lion on that screen? Well, we have a quote that we usually would have been in your booklet if you were here in Ottawa, but it's an inspirational quote that I just want to read it to you. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up, and it knows it must outrun the fastest lion or it will be killed. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up, and it knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve to death. So it doesn't matter if you are a lion or a gazelle, but when the sun comes up, you better be running. And I think that really signifies GV, right? We're all about getting your feet on the ground and going for it. And this week, although we did it virtually, I thought you all did a great job with that. You know, we go with the flow. We've had very few technical difficulties, but you've all had some big challenges before you, and I thought you've done an amazing job. So thank you for joining your journey with Global Vision. I think we all know this slide. As we mentioned, we've started since 1991, and the program has truly developed from its very first year of having a trade mission in Europe to branching out to a more regional approach. But to get started, I wanted to share with you what are the next opportunities with Global Vision from being here. Oh, you can go back there for a second. So, sorry, because I don't have it in front of me. So here you go. I'm hitting the ground running here today too. So, as you can see, you've witnessed it firsthand, and we're not finished yet. You're going to meet with 2 more of our alumni this afternoon for our international trade panel. Now you're a part of a network. right? So when you put JTC on your LinkedIn, you can feel free to connect to anybody, and we're building our JTC alumni group right now. So this is a great way for you to expand your network that you've already developed here presently and connect with our other members who are in sectors from across the board, from politicians to community activists to entrepreneurs. Do you guys all know, I'm sure you all know Skip the Dishes? Well, Skip the Dishes was founded by 2 JTC ambassadors, and they sold it for, don't ask me, millions of dollars, right? Now they're taking on another project on the West Coast, further developing, I believe, the fintech. But once you dive into there, I believe your journey will truly expand, because now you are a proud member of our network that this summer our youth engagement team is working on to further expand and help to connect you. So our next big thing that is in the works right now, and JTC Youth Engagement Ambassador David is working very hard to get our platform up, is going to be an online certificate in global leadership. And we will be letting you know when it's going to be ready, but it'll be like what we experienced here at the Caucus, but you'll have some actual online curriculum that you can go through and submit, and that will be paired with having GB alumni come in and do Q&As on the different topics that we're going to be discussing, from managing in the workforce to your personal brand, to fine-tuning your communication skills, the SWOT analysis that Terry talked about, further developing your networks. So once the platform's ready, we're almost there, we'll be sure to submit it to you, and I hope that you all will join with us to be the first cohort of this certificate in global leadership. And this, I think, is also a good point that Terry was mentioning. I mean, as soon as we can hit the road running with travel, I think this is a very complimentary, because it will be a way that we can continue to interact, continue to develop our networks, and for you to get some hands on the ground learning experiences to further your resumes in getting that experience that you need to help to connect you to your future employment. And when we can come together again, well, we've done the National Youth Ambassador Caucus this year, so I don't need to explain that. And next year, hopefully it'll be back here in our nation's capital. A fan favorite for me is the Arctic Youth Ambassador Caucus. I already have delegates that are still waiting from last year to hopefully be able to go this year. This started in 2009, and this is an accomplishment that I'm extremely proud of, because when Global Vision got the opportunity to host the first and only GA G20 Summit here in Canada, the government turned to Global Vision and said, how are we going to get thousands of young Canadians to know what is the importance of the GA and G20 and Canada being that host? So we were given the task of coming up with that idea. So what we did was we held roundtables, and I'll get to that slide, but that's fine, they come together. Roundtables from coast to coast to coast, bringing in key stakeholders and community leaders to educate the youth about the important issues surrounding the G20 and why it was so important that Canada was the lead in that role. So this is the first time after Global Vision's earnest beginnings in 1991 that we actually were able to go up north. And you might ask yourself, why didn't you go up before? Well, if anybody knows anything about the north, it's super expensive, number one, and number two, it's very challenging to be able to not just, one thing is the weather, the second is being able to connect and engage with Inuit youth up there. So I took on that challenge, and Terry and I hopped on the plane and we went up to Iqaluit in 2009, and what a magical experience that was, right? To be able to work with with young people from across Nunavut, right? And to hear their stories. And so from that moment, I came up with the idea that we should bring youth leaders from the south to the north so we could open up that dialogue, and that you could see, the youth leaders from the south could actually understand their environment, the challenges that they're dealing with, and work together to think about innovative ways that we can both educate our communities about that. That's essentially in a nutshell what the Ambassador, Arctic Youth Ambassador Caucus is all about. And for all of our programs, there's really all the things that we have done with through the caucus prepare you for that. It's like, we want to hear about you, why you want to represent your region, why you would be a good ambassador, what is your brand all about, right? Because we want to build a team of like-minded youth that have different interests and passions to come together and open up that dialogue. So we are hoping at this point, because I'm sure that would be a question, when that would be, if all goes well, I'm hoping that we will be able to go next March. But this also depends on the state of COVID. As you know, or you should know, they don't have any cases up there, and we would not want to be a part of that situation, right? If one of us didn't know we were having it and bring that up, we wouldn't even be allowed anyways, right? They would tend to live like in a household of 10 to 15 people, right? In a very small mobile home. We have the highest rate of tuberculosis, right? So it's extremely health-wise very fragile. They have a horrible healthcare system with one hospital, and most of their patients have to fly south to get care. The education system is in a total disarray, and they don't have their own university, so they all have to come south. And before they can even dream about going to university, they have to go to a school here in Ottawa to bring them back up to speed, because most youth outside of Iqaluit, and anything outside of Iqaluit is a fly-in community, okay? They wouldn't have the math teacher past maybe grade 8, right? All the things that we take advantage of, they don't have, right? Food security is a humongous issue. I know when I took my first group to the grocery store, if you can call it a grocery store, I mean, a box of Rice Krispies would be like $30, a flat of water, $100, right? So these are all the challenges that they face, and I feel it's so important to be able to educate the youth from the South about that and empower them to have a voice and make a difference. In 2010, we actually had, when we hosted the GAG20, I invited Curtis Takdaluk to introduce at that time, Prime Minister Harper in Inuktitut. So that was super, super impressive, and I'm still friends with Curtis to these days. I think from the northern side of things, what that's helped to do is show the youth from the north that we care. One of the youth from Chesterfield Inlet became the very first counselor from his constituency, and he will say firsthand that it was Global Vision that helped him to give the confidence to think that he could actually do something like that and be a voice for the people of the north. So this is something that we have to look forward to in the future. In the meantime, the problem with bringing them in this way through Zoom is they don't have the bandwidth for that. So that's a challenge that we're looking at right now with some innovative solutions to see if in the fall we're able to do that. I didn't say the regional roundtables, Chris. So this fall, we're going to be launching our regional roundtables. Either they will be small gatherings, depending on the province, right? Or through a virtual experience. And this is a great way that you can continue on the networks that you have built. And I'm looking for leadership on your side to help me to build those this fall. There are one-day sessions where we bring in business, education, community leaders to help you to connect with what's going on in your region, right? Because what's happening out in BC is very different from what's happening in Newfoundland and Labrador, right? So we try to make it regional so we can take an introspect on what's going on in your own backyard. And that's the whole idea of the train of events with Global Vision, is that we usually start with the roundtables and then we bring everybody together for the caucus, so then everybody can know what's happening in everybody's backyard through a national perspective. So I hope for those of you that have enjoyed your time with us here, I'm looking for volunteers who would like to help out with these regional roundtables this fall. Now, I know that you've met with some of our grads, and you're going to meet with 2 more this afternoon when we talk about our Junior Team Canada Trade and Development missions. So as I mentioned, those have started since 1991. We have been literally all over the world, in every continent. Done a lot of work in Asia and the Americas, but we have been all over. The real goal of the Trade and Development missions is to really be the boots on the ground and own your experience, right? And seeing Canada's trading partners firsthand while meeting with the Canadian embassy or consulate, depending on which country we're in, getting to hear what are the opportunities for Canadian companies and educational institutions to do business, because Canada isn't nearly, even to this day, aggressive enough. And that was my dad's true vision, was to build a new generation of young people that would be that competitive advantage. And I think he's done a tremendous job at that, but we still need more work to do. So this is an opportunity unlike anything else, I believe, because we don't hold your hand. It's really about you owning your experience. So youth, as you heard from, picked a sector that they were interested in, to be able to, for me to connect with them with business and industry and community leaders in that field. Then they had to outreach to their community to raise their funds, right? And that came from a whole variety of different ways. And you can speak with the different delegates that are here and they can explain their story, because everyone has a different path. But one thing I believe that they will all tell you is, was probably so overwhelming at first, but it was the best thing that they had to do. And I believe Noah said that in the group I was in yesterday, because they learned all sorts of skills that you need in life, right? How you can't just send an email. If you're going after that approach, you're not going to get anywhere, right? You're going to have to connect to the connectors, right? And finally, you're going to have a mandate, but also have created this great network, and it doesn't even have to be from your hometown, right? That have supported you in your mission to be a Junior Team Canada ambassador abroad. You're going to meet with Guillaume Perrin and Kimberly O'Reilly, who both will be able to share their journey about what that meant. And we see the end goal. They're both trade commissioners. And for those of you who are interested in global affairs, that's not an easy feat. And something like Junior Team Canada has a strong brand name with global affairs. So I encourage you for that, is because we have so many youth that have been on these missions. I think it's better for you to network with them and hear their stories and their pathway to success, because I always say, where there's a will, there's a way. And if you can dream it, you can achieve it, right? But it requires 110% hard work to make it happen. But once you establish that, I believe the journey is magical. That's why I'm a little bit sad this summer. This is the first time, I don't know how many years, that I haven't been on the road, but this has really been a great replacement for me to be able to still connect with youth that are very interested in taking action and moving forward. But I encourage all of you, when we're able to get the floodgates going, to consider this as a viable opportunity. And all the information for that is on the website. And then, as you see, we've been privileged at Global Vision to have what we like to call special envoys or assignments. As I mentioned, we hosted the GAG20 in 2010, which was an amazing experience, not only doing 22 roundtables across the country, but then actually hosting the GAG20 with the youth from those countries. I think it's one of my major highlights. I believe you saw the picture when we had the opportunity to meet with President Obama, which was quite an honor. But the funniest part about that was my father and I were talking with Prime Minister Harper at the time, and I could see Obama out of my eyes, right? At the back of my head. And I'm looking at my dad like, let's go. And he's looking at me like, we're talking with the Prime Minister here, right? So when we went to turn and met President Obama, he was so well briefed. He knew my father's name. I thought it was my job was going to. He's like, well, Mr. Clifford, thank you for honoring our youth to have this experience, because when these youth joined us, they got all the global vision training, right? They'd never had something like that before, so we developed a real international network. He said, I understand you went to one of our fine institutions. My father went to Cornell, right? I was just like, holy cow, I didn't even know if Harper knew that, right? So it was just, and I said, hey, can we have the shot, right? The picture, because you got to remember, you've been through like 3 hours of security to get to this point. So the president agreed, President Obama. So we took the picture, and then I'm thinking in my head, how in the world am I ever going to get this? Like, I mean, this photographer, I'm just Amy Giroux here. So I went to go see the photographer of the White House, and I reached into my purse, and you'll never guess what happened next. Does anybody want to guess? Oh, you're all too quiet. Well, the Secret Service jumped out of the planters because they thought I had something in my purse. And Obama's like, relax, guys. I think Amy just wants to give her business card. And the very next day, I got the picture. So that was a big claim to fame. But I think the thing that we're most known for is being chosen by the federal government to lead the official APEC team to the Leader Summit as well as the CEO Summit. Our last time was in 2018 to Papua New Guinea, which was quite an adventure. It's literally on the other side of the world. Unfortunately, Chile was canceled due to the political unrest. And this year, I believe the news is that it's in Malaysia and it's coming to us virtually. But there's hope in 2021 for New Zealand. And for those of you who are interested in that, typically speaking, youth have been on a trade and development mission with us because this is taking it to a totally different level. In the sense that obviously in the room there is world leaders from 21 economies, right? And you need to hit the ground running very fast because it's a small team that represents Canada. But the big mission there is to connect with the CEO leaders from across the world. There's usually about 1,000 in the room. And our mandate is to promote them to thinking about investing in Canada. It's an incredible experience. I believe we have, there's Hajar, there's Michael and Miriam and Chris and Gigi. Please let me know if I forgot someone that have already had that experience. So if you haven't had a chance to talk with them yet, I encourage you to do so. Just as I mentioned, to speak with the JTC ambassadors that have already been on an international trade and development mission so that you can hear from your peers firsthand how you can get that experience that matters. Okay, does anybody have any questions for me or for the team? Please feel free because it's the time to share. I can't see anything on my side, so you have to tell me.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Please feel free to put it in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask the question. We'll give it a few more seconds. If anybody wants to think about some more questions, you still have an opportunity this afternoon after the International Trade Panel to ask your questions as well.
I was just wondering for, I don't know, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So like for the trade missions and like kind of like the whole process, is it like an application process and then you get selected and then have to like do your fundraising and all of that? How does like the whole process work?
Sure, sorry, I can't see who it is.
It was Eunice. Sorry, my camera's like messing up.
Oh, no worries, Eunice. Yeah, that's a really good question. So if it was, let's just say this year things went the way it did, right? The application process would have gone up on a good year around March, right? And obviously we do a big social media campaign, and they would ask you, okay, why do you want to represent your region, right? Tell us about your brand, right? Which you have all learned here, right? Like what's your passions? What are the skills you're bringing to the table, right? To identify, so Eunice, you're in Ottawa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for example, when we think about Ottawa, right? What would you say is a key growth sector here?
Well, we're like the political central.
Yeah, okay, no, but that's where we're at. But what are because yes, we're a government town, right? But that's not, you're not going to get money from the federal government. Trust me, I've tried. So, no, but come on, what's the other one in Ottawa? What's become the new emerging thing that we were good at and then it died and now it's back on track?
Like economics wise?
Yeah. It's okay, I'll help you out. It's IT.
Sorry, not sure where you're going.
It's IT.
IT?
Like, I know, because some of you don't even know what a sector is, right? So when you look at your region, you have to think, what are the industry drivers? So for Ottawa, number one, it's the government, right? Number two, it's IT, right? We just got Amazon, right? And we have a whole bunch of clean tech here, right? Then it's education, right? We have 2 major universities plus the colleges, okay? And tourism, right? So you think about what's key in where you're from, because that's what you want to represent on the world stage, right? So we help you to be able, we have all the promotional material, and we go, once you've been selected, we help you go take through that so you can develop your pitch and connect to your community. In addition to getting funding from a private sector company, education is key, right? Because there isn't a school board, a university, a college that doesn't want to get international students, right? That's why most of our schools are online this fall, because they don't have enough international students, if you want to be honest, right? So that's another key place. And then you think about your community, right? I don't know how many of you have been involved with a Rotary Club, a Lions Club, right? The Legions, they're also great players because they want to support you as a community ambassador to go on a mission. So that's how you make your roadmap, right? And then finally is how you would give back. That's a big part of Global Vision is paying it forward and giving back, and that's why we have so many great grads who still to this day, you know, after many years, like Kimberly O'Reilly, who you're going to meet at 4 o'clock, she's like, oh my gosh, we were in Taiwan 25 years ago, right? So that's pretty awesome, right? That they still want to give and share. So we just want to make sure that when we build our team, there's no question you're going to benefit from this experience, but we also want to make sure that you're going to be that type of person that's committed to giving back and sharing, because that's what helps to make Global Vision 30 years old next year and to continue that movement. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the question, Eunice. So Amy, we have another one from Serena. Serena, would you like to ask your question yourself?
Yeah, sure. So how does one apply to the regional roundtable?
Okay, well, that's a good question because normally it would be, you know, okay, we're gonna have one. Where are you located again? Are you in Toronto?
I'm in Vancouver. Was that the?
Oh, sorry, you're in Vancouver. Yeah. Okay. So actually, I mean, this is the last time I was in Vancouver when we had the regional roundtable. Normally, we would put that up on the website, and then we would coordinate, you know, the travel and everything to have people going to the different places. For this fall, it's going to take place virtually. So what I'm looking for right now is for the young people here who are at the Caucus who are interested, right, to help me build these, right? Because we can do, and see, depending on the province, I mean, there can be small gatherings, right? I'm just not, we'll have to wait and see the directives. So what I encourage is everybody just, you know, send me a note either on Facebook or email me at amy@globalvision.ca, and then we can build working committees to make these regional roundtables happen.
Great, awesome. Let's go to Cindy.
Hi, I just had a question. So how many people do you accept like in the international trade missions?
That's a good question, Cindy. It really depends on the country we're going to, and how many people apply, right? We try to, we go by, try to get as many as we can, right? But I would say the highest, and Dad, correct me if I'm wrong, well, you had the highest, the very first year was 80 to Europe. But I think that outside of that, probably the largest we had was in Southeast Asia, and it was around 55.
Okay.
And as you heard from Sandra, sometimes you might not get it the first time, but you just try again, right? But we try to provide as many opportunities as possible, and typically we do 2 trade missions a year, trade and development missions a year. One in February, and then the other in the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Do we have one last question from anyone, perhaps? Cool. I'm just going to talk awkwardly while people try to think of questions. We have another session coming up at 4 p.m., and that is the International Trade Panel, which I am extremely excited about, and I hope everyone else is too. And then after that, we'll be wrapping up our session. And can someone please ask a question so I can stop?
That's okay, Chris. I'm fine with that.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. So
so I will actually
go ahead,
I actually have something to suggest. So at 6 today, we also have our final networking session. So I think now that we've been with each other virtually and kind of in person by seeing your lovely faces for the past 5 days, I think we should take this opportunity at 6 to all hop on. Feel free to bring your dinner if you have to eat, because I know we're from different time zone, but I think it's a cool way for us to actually make those meaningful connections and really join the GB family. So I really hope to see you guys at 6, and we can continue to do the breakout rooms or however you guys want to run it, and we can really enjoy to spend some time together.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for coming, everyone. Amazing presentations, and we'll see all of you at 4 p.m.